As the sales manager at Kyle's company, I was shocked by what Kyle said when he came home one day. "I got a 29-year-old beautiful employee pregnant. Please, divorce me." I was stunned. It was too sudden and I couldn't organize my thoughts. Later, I told Kyle I wanted to talk with all three of us and lay down on the bedroom bed. Sheila was pregnant. I was the cause of infertility. I thought I had fallen out of love with Kyle, but tears wouldn't stop flowing. The next day, I overheard a conversation between Kyle and Sheila. "Why didn't you ditch a woman who can't bear an heir, boss?" "She's good at her job. I have no reason to fire her." "Then keep her around. Once the child is born, she can take care of it." "Smart thinking, Sheila. She's an old lady, so she must know about child care." I clenched my fists at their laughter. How dare they? They won't be laughing for long. I'll make sure they deeply regret underestimating me. I'm Ash, a 44-year-old housewife. 10 years ago, at a college friends gathering, I reconnected with Kyle. Kyle was the only son of a well-known local company. He lost his father when he was young, and now his mother-in-law, Caitlin, serves as the chairman. In college, I took the same lectures as Kyle, but I never got close to him due to the differences in our upbringing and his always busy surroundings. However, upon reuniting, I found him down to earth and cheerful, without flaunting his wealth. After dining together, Kyle asked me out and later proposed. My family was just ordinary salaried workers. "She's not suitable to be a wife." But when we visited my in-laws, they easily accepted me. My university education in accounting and finance and my qualifications seemed to have made a good impression. After getting engaged, I joined Kyle's company and now manage sales administration as the sales manager. I grew up watching my parents' loving relationship and always longed for marriage. I believed that with the person I loved, I could build a warm home. I never imagined that in just 10 years of marriage, my happiness would shatter. Initially, Kyle was very kind to me. Being the president, he had a busy social life and almost every weekend was booked. Although Kyle's friends were strangers to me, he included me in events like barbecues, camping, and skiing, introducing me to his friends. His friends included men, women, couples, and married individuals. Not having friends of the opposite sex, I was puzzled by female friends, but Kyle interacted with them respectfully. They showed no misleading behavior, easing my concerns. I admired Kyle's ability to interact effortlessly with everyone, whether single, married, male, or female. But over the years, Kyle grew colder. He frowned upon seeing me, sighed, and looked displeased at the cosmetics in the bathroom. "Kyle, our wedding anniversary is coming up. I'll make a reservation at our usual restaurant." He replied irritably, "I'm busy with work. Can't you see? I don't have time for restaurants." "But you always made time for that day, no matter how busy you were." Then he sighed deeply and said, "If you want to go that badly, go alone. Are you still in a honeymoon phase?" His harsh words hurt me. He must be tired and irritated, I thought, and sent him his favorite brand tie for his birthday, but he didn't appreciate it. "Ash, you have no taste. I'm tired of this brand. Why increase unnecessary things?" "I'm sorry." I had researched and carefully chosen that tie, visiting the store in person. I couldn't remember doing anything to anger him. Despite claiming to be busy, he regularly went out with friends. Could it be he didn't want to go out with me? The thought crossed my mind. Then a decisive incident occurred. I was excited to go to the mall when invited, dressed in new clothes and a private glamorous makeup, waiting for Kyle to get ready. But after he finished preparing, he looked at me and sneered. "What's with that outfit? Wearing a skirt at your age? Is that not okay? Aren't you aware of your age? You're a full-grown woman past 40. Your makeup is too flashy, and curling your hair like that is just embarrassing. You used to be cute, but that's not the case anymore." His scornful tone pierced my heart. "But Kyle's friends dress up stylishly, don't they?" "They can because they are beautiful. You are different, aren't you? Trying to look young at your age. It's just pathetic." "It's not like I'm trying to look younger or anything." Kyle clicked his tongue at my attempt to argue back. "Dress more normally. Are you trying to embarrass me? Forget it. I've lost the mood to go out. You've ruined it despite me inviting you." He scratched his head in annoyance, threw his jacket on the sofa, and went upstairs to his study. "Lunch is lobster today. I want it in 30 minutes. Make it happen." His voice came down from the stairs. I was just a little excited for our rare outing. Why did I upset Kyle's mood? Biting my lip, holding back tears, I changed into my room wear, removed my makeup, and started preparing lunch. When I think about it, Kyle is the same age as me. If I'm an old lady, then Kyle is an old man. I'm not beautiful, but Kyle is just an average middle-aged man. Raised to be the next president, he has high pride and is full of confidence. Before we got married, I found these traits attractive, but I never expected to be looked down upon like this. Sometimes I almost blurt out my complaints. But we work at the same place, so I have to face Kyle at the office too. If our marriage is tense, it makes our employees uneasy. Thinking about it, I usually end up giving in and trying to please Kyle. At home, Kyle is domineering, but once he steps outside, he becomes charming and leaves a good impression on everyone he meets. He's the typical rich second-generation guy with no real business skills, but his refreshing smile and friendliness endear him to clients and business partners. However, his grumpiness at home is like dealing with a completely different person. I'm the boss, you know. I can't eat this cheap meal. Even instant ramen would be better. If the menu isn't to his liking, he always complains and slurps his cup noodles next to me while I eat. Also, Kyle seems discontent whenever I have plans to go out when he's home. Leaving your husband and wandering around? Are you even a housewife? I'm just going shopping for clothes. I've prepared lunch in the microwave, and I'll be back before dinner. Serve the meal with your own hands. You're a housewife, aren't you? Living off the money I earn. You sure have it easy. Although I earn less than Kyle, the company president, I also work full-time and earn a decent salary. I contribute to our living expenses, so I don't see why I should be criticized, especially since Kyle caused trouble with clients when he first took over the company from Caitlin, leading to a big mess. And I was the one who apologized to everyone. You were so cute 10 years ago. Now you look like a worn-out rag. Lately, he's always making comments about my looks. You're a failure as a wife since you couldn't bear an heir. Be grateful I haven't divorced you and kept you here. I wanted children too, but it's not our fault. How about we get tested at the hospital? It might still be possible. When I suggest this, Kyle just shakes his head. No need to waste extra money. It must be your fault. I forgive you because you're good at your job. Whenever I get frustrated, I meet with my best friend Rihanna and vent to her. We've been friends since college, and she knows about Kyle and sympathizes with me. Kyle puts on a good face outside, then takes out his frustrations on Ash at home. What a guy. Rihanna frowned, resting her chin in her hand. He used to come crying to you. What should I do about Ash? As if he built the company all by himself. Maybe he's forgotten his humble beginnings, I murmured softly. I worked hard too, even though Caitlin and the other executives helped. Thanks, Rihanna. I feel much better now. When I thanked her, Rihanna replied with a bright smile. I'm always on your side, Ash. Let me know if you need anything. I'm here to help. Her strong words lifted my spirits. Lately, Kyle's behavior has been noticeably strange. Claiming to be socializing, he's out almost every weekend. Even on weekdays, he comes home after midnight. But he doesn't seem tired at all. Rather, he looks happier than ever. On a Sunday evening, after finishing housework, I was reading in the living room. Kyle had left in the morning without telling me where he was going. He probably won't be back until late at night. Then, unusually, Kyle came home just after 8 p.m. He entered the living room, his cheeks flushed and barely containing his excitement. Welcome home. You're back early. Ash, be happy. What? Why? I'm going to be a father. I blinked in surprise. Huh? I got a 29-year-old beautiful employee pregnant. Please, let's get a divorce. I stared at Kyle, dumbfounded. It just happened so suddenly. I can't think straight. I'm finally going to be a dad. Finally an heir. Mom would be so happy. Wait. You were cheating? I asked in shock, and Kyle answered without any remorse. Do you know Sheila from accounting? Yeah, I guess she's pretty. That's right, beautiful and in great shape, and she's still in her 20s. Plus, she's competent. Women should be young after all. Beauty aside, it's the first time I've heard Sheila is competent at her job. That's why you're no longer needed. Let's get a divorce. Kyle said it so casually, making me uncomfortable. I've had my fill of grievances against Kyle over the past 10 years, and I have no attachment to our marriage. But I'm not so naive as to just say yes immediately. If he's been cheating all this time, I'll have to get a hefty compensation from both of them. I can't just agree to this all of a sudden. Could you invite Sheila over sometime? Let's talk, the three of us, I said, and Kyle's voice perked up. All right, I'll tell her. He went off to take a shower with a spring in his step. Watching his retreating figure, I closed my book. I went upstairs to my bedroom and lay down on my bed, feeling empty. The shock of being cheated on was overshadowed by the fact that Kyle had fathered a child. He had always wanted an heir. Of course, just because he wanted it didn't guarantee a boy. But before that, I never got pregnant. If Sheila is pregnant, it must mean the problem was with me. Would we have been happily raising a child together by now if I had conceived? Even though I thought I was fed up with Kyle, I couldn't stop the tears. The next day, with swollen eyes, I went to work early and made myself a coffee to wake up. As I was about to leave the hallway, I heard Kyla and Sheila talking through the door. Was she shocked? Yeah, she was completely stunned. I can't believe she didn't notice the affair. It's been going on for 2 years. Sheila laughed. Kyle, why didn't you just dump that woman who couldn't bear an heir sooner? I needed her as a housekeeper. Besides, she's good at her job. If we divorced, she'd probably quit and go somewhere else. Then keep her for now. You can dump her any time. Once the baby's born, just have her take care of it under the pretext of the president's child. Kyle sounded impressed with this outrageous suggestion. Smart, Sheila. She's older, so she'd know how to handle a child. We can tell her it's for the child's sake. She'll listen. I clenched my fist at their laughter. How dare they? Enjoy your laughter while you can. I'll make sure you both deeply regret mocking me. After making all the necessary preparations, I told Kyle to invite Sheila over in 2 weeks. And on the appointed day, Sheila arrived as if she was visiting a friend's house. Excuse me for intruding. Wow, Kyle's house is really nice. I've always wanted to visit, Sheila said, her eyes sparkling. What are you waiting for? Tell her. I even had her cook dinner for us, Kyle said arrogantly. Ignoring my grimace, Sheila looked around the room curiously, walking around freely. The kitchen is spacious and stylish. It's so different from my one-bedroom apartment. Your place is cute, too. It feels like a young woman's home. Really? Kyle, can I see the other rooms? Sheila brazenly asked, and Kyle grinned and agreed, leading the way. This is the bedroom, and next to it is the sunroom. A sunroom? I want one, too. Oh, there are so few houseplants. It's such a waste of a big space. Is this Ash's taste? Sheila complained, looking at the glass table and 2 indoor potted plants. She came here supposedly to apologize for the affair, yet she's criticizing the interior of my house. What kind of person is she? No, a sane person wouldn't propose having the wife of the man she got pregnant by raise the child. No way. Ash isn't like you. Kind, Sheila. She kills plants almost immediately. She's probably hated by them. That's so sad. Ash, poor thing. They laughed loudly. I spoke coldly. Didn't you come here to talk? Let's sit at the table, please. I waited for Kyle and Sheila to sit on the sofa across the table. Then I began. Let me confirm again, Sheila, you're pregnant with Kyle's child, right? They both nodded. Ash, I'm sorry, but this is fate. Sheila looked at me with tearful eyes, hands clasped in a pleading pose. Her overly familiar way of addressing me grated on my nerves. My baby came to me, which means Kyle and I were destined to be together since our past lives. Meeting and marrying Ash was a mistake. We need to correct this mistake and start over, or both Ash and Kyle will be unhappy. I love you both, so I can't let that happen. Sheila rambled on with her absurd logic, and I could only respond with a wry smile. Her self-defense was so ludicrous it went beyond anger to sheer disbelief. I truly love Kyle from the bottom of my heart, so please let me have Kyle's baby, please, Sheila begged in a saccharine voice, and Kyle sniffled, apparently moved to tears. I love her too. It would be tragic for a child, especially an heir to our business empire, to grow up without a father. This child needs to be raised by both parents. Kyle and Sheila cozied up together, and earnest in their appeal, only succeeded in making me feel more disenchanted. Any lingering affection I had for Kyle had completely evaporated after this incident. I had no desire to continue as his wife. Fine, but I'll be quitting my job. Please continue working, Kyle frowned. You'll have a hard time finding a job at your age. Considering your contributions, I'll let you stay at the company. Really? I have qualifications in management? I'm sure I'll find something. Kyle, you're so kind. Since the president says it's okay, Ash, you should stay at our company. I don't mind at all. Sheila smiled cheerily. I sighed, glancing at her sideways. No way, that woman. I paused, then dropped a bombshell. She's been embezzling company funds. What? Sheila's eyes widened momentarily, then she awkwardly looked away, dropping her gaze to the floor. What did you just say? Kyle showed visible shock. I kindly explained. She's been pocketing entertainment and travel expenses, writing whatever amounts she wanted on blank receipts. I spoke calmly to Kyle, whose face had gone pale. It's been going on for 2 years, and nobody but me noticed. I discovered it only recently after interviewing relevant parties. I added with a sigh. Even for a family-run business, such laxity is unacceptable. I've been thinking about cutting ties, and after the divorce, the last thing I want is to see your faces. So I'll be looking for a new job. Stop making such baseless accusations, Sheila protested, her face contorting. Where's your proof? The chief accountant you seduced confessed everything to the executive director. Want to see the video? As I reached for my mobile phone, Sheila covered her face with her hands and burst into tears. I'm sorry. My father's company went bankrupt. My mother collapsed from shock and got hospitalized with an incurable disease. My siblings rebelled against our parents, racked up debt, and disappeared. My salary alone couldn't cover it, so I did what I had to. Sheila sobbed uncontrollably, as if she had prepared eye drops beforehand. Kyle, completely fooled, embraced her shoulder, looking solemn. That's tough. You should have told me. I didn't want to bother Kyle. I've spent all the money on paying off the debt, so I can't return it. Kyle seemed to genuinely believe her blatant lies. He was probably the one who had been spending the money himself. What are you talking about? Don't be so formal. Crying too much is bad for the baby. Hey, how much was it? $20,000. I expect to be fully reimbursed. Depending on your attitude, I might sue you for embezzlement. That much we can cover it. Who else knows about this? The whole board. I'll take care of it. Don't do it again, Sheila. Yes, I won't. Thank you so much. Kyle patted Sheila's head and I was utterly disgusted. Such leniency from a company president was unbelievable. It was like watching a bad romance drama with a terrible lead couple, making my stomach churn. I suppressed my nausea and proceeded as planned. So, Sheila working part-time at a bar was also to help your family? Kyle showed a brief sign of discomfort, but quickly pretended it was nothing. Our company doesn't forbid part-time work. I just wish you had reported it. I'm sorry. I didn't miss Sheila's face stiffening. I smiled and laid out the photos I had obtained on the living room table. This kind of behavior seems like it could harm the baby. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. But if it's what Sheila wants, I guess it's fine. Sheila's expression changed rapidly. She snatched the photos from the end of the row. These are pictures with your clients, Kyle. You probably don't want to see these, do you? While Sheila forced a smile, I laid out another set of photos in front of Kyle. Kyle gasped, understandably, as the photos showed Sheila arm in arm with various men, cheerfully entering hotels. The pictures indicated she had been in relationships with multiple men. Sheila scrambled to gather the photos, but it seemed too late. Sheila, lost for words, desperately tried to explain. It's not what it looks like. I felt sick during a date outside the bar and just went in to rest. I didn't do anything wrong. Kyle, believe me. She pleaded with Kyle, her eyes sparkling, but even Kyle looked stunned. Is that so? Aren't you believing Sheila? That's horrible. Kyle is the only one for me. She clung to her own arm and appealed passionately, but Kyle's expression was bitter. Sighing, I stood up. I brought my private laptop from the bedroom, plugged in a USB from the detective, and played the incriminating audio. Kyle held his head in his hands as indecent voices filled the room. Stop it, please. Hotel walls are surprisingly thin, aren't they? Seems like they can easily record through them. Is it the technology or the equipment, I wonder? Sheila came over to me, her face twisted in fury. You shameless woman! Are you doing all this just to break us up? Don't you care about Kyle's feelings at all? You're okay with hurting him? I'm just exposing the truth. You're the one who hurt Kyle. And are you really pregnant? Just trying to secure the position of the company president's wife, aren't you? No, that's not it. My belly will start to swell soon. It's definitely Kyle's child. With that many men, how can you be sure? It's a mother's intuition. Intuition, huh? It was so brazen I could only laugh. Sheila advanced on me, arguing loudly. And those men were just for fun, not relationships. The only one I truly love is Kyle. Wow, I can't understand your logic, Sheila. I shrugged in resignation, then turned to ask Kyle. What about you, Kyle? Even if a child unlike you at all is born, will you raise it as your heir? Well, that's... Not expecting him to hesitate, I threw a sarcastic comment. So it's okay if it's a boy, even if it's not your own child? What? My blood runs in its veins. It's not someone else's, and stop yapping, you barren woman. Sheila exploded in anger. You've always been so high and mighty despite being ugly. I hated you since I joined the company. Bossing around just because you can do your job? She glared at me, her anger unrestrained. Always telling me not to flirt with male employees or to seduce the boss. You're so annoying. As I remained silent, Sheila continued her tirade in a vulgar tone. You're just jealous because you're ugly, right? Thought you were successful marrying the boss? But too bad for you. Sheila laughed shrilly. Hey, cut it out, Kyle said, clearly exacerbated. He tried to stop her by pulling at her sleeve, but an enraged Sheila kept hurling insults. Can't have children, mediocre looks, would have been divorced long ago in the old days, but what a great era for you, all because Kyle is kind. He pitied you, a defective product, and kept you at home, but that's over now. Give up your position as the company president's wife to me, and go back to being single, old lady. Tired of replying, I let Sheila's tirade wash over me until the living room door opened. Kyle turned pale at the sight of the person who appeared. Mom? Ah, the chairwoman. Perfect timing. Sheila stood up, her face glowing, and bowed to Caitlin. Nice to meet you, Caitlin. I'm Sheila from the accounting department. I'm pregnant with Kyle's child. It's surely a boy. Since I'm carrying the heir, I'll be marrying Kyle. Caitlin looked exacerbated and held her temples. Sighing deeply, she spoke in a low voice. Kyle, can you shut up this light-headed woman for a bit? At Caitlin's harsh words, Sheila froze. Caitlin glared at Sheila with disdain, then scolded Kyle. Only Ash has the right to call me Caitlin. Kyle, you're so spaced out, you let weirdos take advantage of you. Sheila looked confused, but forced a smile. Chairwoman? I mean, not Caitlin? The child in my womb is Kyle's. My mother's intuition tells me it's a boy. I'll bear a worthy heir, unlike the incompetent Ash. A child is necessary for the company's future, right? However, Caitlin twisted her face in response to Sheila's desperate appeal and spat out. Boy or girl, I don't care. Do you think you can become the company president's wife after embezzling company funds? But Mom, Sheila's home situation is complicated. Can't you overlook this just once? Kyle persisted, but Caitlin responded with a half smile. Such a foolish child. Do you really believe such an excuse? Seeing the documents Caitlin threw on the table, Kyle immediately looked pitiful. So Caitlin also had Sheila's background checked by a detective. Oh, I see. I laughed as I read the documents. Her parents work for a major corporation and her brother is studying abroad? Her family is much wealthier than mine, so the embezzled money was for your own use? Kyle looked at Sheila incredulously. Pictures of you shopping a lot at brand stores. You're in debt because of credit card payments, aren't you? Caitlin snorted. Also, the OBGYN clinic Sheila visits is run by my acquaintance. After talking to them, they said she's not pregnant. What? She's just having irregular periods, right? Caitlin smirked as Sheila turned bright red. Old hag, how dare you spread my personal information like that? All right. Anyway, we're suing you for embezzlement. Rihanna, please proceed with the formalities. Certainly, Chairwoman. Rihanna appeared from behind the chairwoman and I smiled at her. So, my best friend Rihanna is the company's legal consultant. When Sheila's embezzlement came to light, I informed Caitlin and consulted Rihanna. We were waiting for the right moment to pursue the matter when Kyle approached me for a divorce. I'm sorry, I lied about being pregnant, but I really do love Kyle, believe me. Sheila appealed with tearful eyes, and Kyle's expression softened. Sheila? Right, Kyle, you're responsible for the affair, so you're being dismissed as the president. Kyle and Sheila gasped. Hey, it's just an affair. You had an affair with a woman who embezzles. It's only fair. Not a single executive supports you. No way. Kyle held his head, trembling. Kyle is good with people. Liked by other company presidents for his hospitality, even if he's not good at business. That's why I kept him, even though he's useless. Caitlin continued sternly. But a son who neglects a contributing ash and cheats with an airheaded young woman is not needed. False! You can't fire me! Please, I was deceived by Sheila. Kyle's voice sounded desperate. Mom, I was wrong. It was just a moment of folly. I'll break up with Sheila, so please keep me at the company. It's impossible to find a new job at my age. Kyle's pitiful voice and clingy attitude seemed to turn Sheila off. Huh? What? You were so in love with me? Now that you're abandoned by your mother, you turn on me? The worst! Sheila's eyes widened in anger. I only cozied up to you because you were the president. A greasy old man, 15 years my senior. I wouldn't have even looked your way if you were just an ordinary employee. What? You said you fell for me without caring about my title. Liar! Believing such things is so naive. That's why you got tricked by me. Caitlin shook her head in disgust at Sheila's words. Both of you are just as bad. In that sense, you're a perfect match. Just then, the doorbell rang. When I checked the entrance, there were police officers standing there. They had come in a patrol car without sirens, considering the neighbors. Sheila, who hadn't expected to actually be arrested, showed clear signs of panic. She even started flirting with the officers as they entered the room. Officer, please listen. I was tricked by the head of accounting. We'll hear the details at the station. Please come with us. Dismissed coldly, Sheila clicked her tongue and was taken away in the patrol car. Kyle watched dumbfounded from the entrance and staggered back to the sofa, his head hanging down. Later that day, the complicit chief accountant was also arrested. However, since both were first-time offenders, they were soon released. Sheila, having spent all the embezzled money and without any savings, had to take on debt to pay back the embezzled amount and my compensation. Having been fired from the company, she started working additional part-time jobs during the day, in addition to the bar she had already been working at. Working day and night, including weekends, she had no time to care for her appearance. When I saw her recently in town, she looked haggard and nothing like the beautiful employee she once was. As for Kyle, after the divorce, he was spared from being fired thanks to Caitlin's mercy and was sent to a regional branch. His demotion as president became common knowledge among the staff, and he was shunned and isolated at work. Cut off by Caitlin and having spent all his savings on compensating me, Kyle approached me for a reconciliation. Ash, I was wrong. I won't cheat again. Let's start over. Your ex-husband is struggling with money. You won't abandon me, right? Why don't you ask those young girls you adore for living expenses? You still have a job, even if it's low paying, so work hard. I scolded him over the phone and finally blocked his contact when he seemed to give up. According to Caitlin, his once bright personality was gone. He barely spoke to anyone, just worked, and shut himself in his room on weekends. Kyle's cousin, who had been the vice president, took over as the new president. Acknowledging my past performance, I was promoted to a supervisory role among the executives. The new president isn't much of a talker, but is sincere and seems to be well liked by the employees. My work has become busier than ever, but I find it fulfilling. Though divorced from Kyle, I sometimes dine with Caitlin. Despite being the company chairwoman, Caitlin never pressured me about producing an heir. This incident deepened my respect for her character. Though I've cut ties with Kyle, I hope to continue a close relationship with Caitlin as a mentor and friend.